It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Logwork, the creators of the fantastic logbooks made with genuine write-in-the-rain paper. The logbooks designed for the micro-containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who'd rather go caching than doing cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's LOGWERK.com.
Hey everyone. Big thanks to Derek, Baker 6 Clan, for the graphics, and our new patrons. Where's my sound? Somewhere. Wait.
Is this the applause sound coming up, Gary?
Wait for it.
Oh,
here it is. That's okay. Let's celebrate our patrons that are with us. We're doing the U's, the V's, and the W's. Let me bring in my co-host for tonight. Let's go ahead and get that part done. There's John. Hey, John.
Hey, how are you doing, Gary?
Doing fabulous. Jesse is off the show. All right.
Voted off the island again?
He's off the island. He is not allowed to talk about D5s and T5s tonight, so we'll get to that. No, he's not feeling well, so. All right, so we're sort of toward the. Go ahead. What can you say?
Oh no! I was going to say, man, I hope somebody gives Jesse a good where I go first to find opportunity, so when he feels better, he can just spring right back to action, go out and get it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so U's, V's, W's. So for the U's, Susan is in Utah, and Kimberly, also Utah. For Virginia, we have Sharon. We have TKD Scouter. Let me back up. Sharon's in Virginia. TKD Scouter, had him on the show a few times. Good dude. He's in Vermont. Little Black Dog, he's also in Vermont. And then we have our W's. We have actually quite a few W's. Start with Washington, the great state of Washington. We have Ryan. We have Stephanie, Little Miss Sunshine. We have Lori, Seebeck Tribe. We have Nick with Cashley. He's in Washington. And then we have Brett. Brett's not in Washington. He's in Western Australia, but he's in W. A little different. There's a little different from Washington to Western Australia there, but we're still in the W's. And then our couple Wisconsins, we have Jason and we have Christopher. Happy Hodag are in Wisconsin. Okay, I'll stop doing that. All right. So, hey, John, let's jump right into some news since we have a lot to cover.
Oh man, let's do it. I'm excited.
Let's do it. So Geo Woodstock is this year's is I guess mostly in the books, maybe not
Just
completely.
wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah. Looked like a great time out in the desert there in Arizona and Flagstaff. Flagstaff, by the way, is sort of up in the mountains, which people wonder when you think of Arizona. A lot of people think of the desert. You know,
And many people wouldn't think, geez, did Bell on the Move snowboard before Geo
yes,
would, you know?
it's snowboarding.
Yeah.
Because we have these pictures in our head of you know the cactus, the which they have saguaro, that they have all the cactus out there and all that, but um, it's from Phoenix to Flagstaff. It's uphill. You're basically going straight up the hill. Um, gorgeous areas. The other areas are fun too. I mean, I don't want to take away from the desert part, but we just don't. We just the iconic look is always the guy trying to get through the desert.
On the horse with no name, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I think I've heard this in song format once or twice.
Yeah. One. So we should write a song like that.
Yeah, could go over well. Just saying.
Yeah. Go through the desert with a horse with no name. Be kind of cool. It'd be a cool song. Um, so, so give us sort of an update on where we're going next.
Oh man. So yeah. So on this one, this was a really good announcement for folks like myself on the East Coast. Don't get me wrong, would have been awesome to go to Arizona. But next year's Geo Woodstock is actually May 24th, and it is in Morgantown, West Virginia. So,
Woo-hoo!
cool thing about that is just a 4-hour drive from my pizza home base on that one. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that's really, really, really cool on this one too is there's so many good events already, set for May at this time. We know Mingo Madness, we know ASP Geobash, and then
Yep.
the weekend right after ASP Geobash, Geo Woodstock occurs. So I mean, man, it could make a really sweet opportunity for somebody to really do both events on that one and have an absolute blast. So that's pretty cool.
No, absolutely. Cache Fest Alaska, Mingo Madness, ASP, um, Geo Woodstock. There's going to be in like you said, 2025 is already shaping up to be a big year for
Epic.
Epic. Definitely Epic. I agree.
Yeah.
And I know they're excited. We've had on the show, Hodag. Maybe you never know. That
Can't
could be
wait.
a
It'd be great opportunity for a lot of people to get a sweet webcam down there. Just saying.
frozen pizza.
That's true.
Yeah, Drusels, you're right. Twofer, because you could do ASP. Is it a couple weeks before? Is that
No, ASP is the weekend before. It's
the
the
weekend before? So yeah,
17th, May
so you
17th,
definitely could do it.
2025.
Yeah, you could do a 2-for-1 special on that one because it's
Yeah.
not too far. I mean, 4 hours, you think?
Yeah. Oh, 4-hour drive. So, I mean, with a lot of cool caches along the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely. And he
make
mentioned
for an
it's
awesome
like
time.
not too far from Tim. Yeah, you're a stone's throw away.
Yeah, just a
Um,
couple-hour drive.
yeah, a couple hour drive. I think you figured it was roughly about four ish for you. It's 16 hours for me to get there. So
Yeah, you may have to leave earlier, Gary.
yeah. I we've had Mark on the show before. Mark, really good guy, sort of a younger gentleman, and he's so fired up. I've been texting back and forth with him. He's a good dude. He's very fired up, and I kind of I challenged him
Oh, yeah?
to. I did. I challenged because he's a good guy. I don't want to make it sound like I know him well enough that I feel like I could say, you need to really work hard on making this an epic Geo Woodstock because we've
Mhm.
had several, but it's a lot it's a lot to do. I mean, Dee can tell you. Dee's in our chat room. We're going to talk more about the victories here in a little bit, but Dee's done, I don't know, 25, 50, whatever. She's done a lot of megas, but there's something about Geo Woodstock that's always, very special, and you kind of
Absolutely.
you want to pull out all the stops. It's a little organ lingo for you. Is that, when you play an organ, if you pull out all the stops and push, and play music, it just, you get full sound.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. So, looking forward to that. So, all right. Congrats to the Morgantown, West Virginia team for next year. I put it it's in the show notes. All this is in the show notes. If people asked about show notes, go to geocachetalk.com. There's a link to the show notes for going back to the beginning. So it's always there available. So I did mention Dee. Dee and David were in at Flagstaff for Geo Woodstock, and they got the news. I guess it was yesterday. We had major storms come through here, and they're hour or so west of me, but they got hit badly. They were not there. Some of their family was in the area, was there, and they pretty much lost their home. They had a neighbor who passed away from the storm, and so we have a link in the show notes. And I've posted it as well, and I'll put it in the. It's pretty easy to link, so I put it in the show notes. I'm gonna copy the link here. I'll put it up on the screen as well. Maybe you can.
Yeah, and our thoughts and prayers definitely go out to everybody down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they've, so thankful that no one was injured. If you go to the GoFundMe page and you just, I think you can sort of, you could do a search instead of trying to type in all that. I think you could search by use their last name, Vickery. I'm going to try that right now. I'm going to go to the generic GoFundMe page, do a search, go to the search button, and if you put in Vickery, let's see what happens here. Yeah. So if you go to the if you go to just to GoFundMe, gofundme.com, all one word. And there's a search button on the left-hand side up there. In the search, if you put in their last name, Vickery, Vickery, it comes up. It's right on the top there. And so that's probably maybe the easiest way to do it, is to do it that way. Is simpler than trying to follow a link. Just GoFundMe, all one word. And let's help them out. If everybody, think about it as if you were in town, if you lived in the town and you were with them, you're just paying for dinner. So, if everybody would be willing to pay for their dinner, if everybody pitched in, we could get this, fully funded for them. So please do that. Please take a moment.
And I think that's one awesome thing about the geocaching community. So many people are so helpful with helping each other's out. And especially in this case, and for Team D&D, David and D, man, our thoughts are with you guys. And definitely glad you're okay.
Cool. Oh, thanks, Drusilla. I didn't know if everybody can, if they click on it or not, if they can go direct. But either way, use the link I've provided. It's in the show notes. You can do it that way if you wish. Dee's on tonight, so they're trying to travel back. I don't know how far they've gotten yet, but they're on the road back to their home. So thanks, Dee, for being on. So it obviously, it's something we need to pray about and to keep them in our and let's. Oh, they're 5 hours away. Okay. So like I said, let's all if I were to, I said, like you said, let's ease the burden.
Yep.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you for that. So help us out. Okay, so a couple quick other notes. We want to get the show rolling as somebody would say, well, the show's on. The show's been on for a while. So, but we're doing some news still. So, in the show notes we have links to Cache Fest Oklahoma volunteers. That's coming along really nicely. We have a lot of people who are volunteering. So that's really awesome. Also, there's a link in there, John. I know you're excited about this. We've got a slot for the team, but we're going to be going through Infernal Device 2.0.
That's one of those things. Like, I don't know. There's certain caches, I don't know about you guys, you just get like so excited about. Like, this is one where I'm like, oh man, I cannot wait. That is going to be so amazing to go through. And I know. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a number of people signed up for that one, but definitely you want to make sure. That would be like one of those things that would be so not cool if you missed out because that one got booked up. So definitely for people, use that link. Please go in and register because that's going to be such an epic cache for people to experience.
Yeah, it's I'm going to go into a lot of detail. I know you're surprised, I think, that I have not spilled the beans on that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, heck yeah. I mean, come on, Gary.
That's how amazing.
Gary. I've known you for a long time, and I know, one, Gary likes to spill the beans. Two, when Gary gets excited, he's more likely to spill the beans. But sometimes when things are so super cool, you don't spill the beans. So when all those boxes are checked on that one,
yes,
it's just like, whoa, it's got to be like really, really awesome. No doubt.
Yes. I've told you some things offline that you're like, no way, but they were not, they were peripheral things. I didn't really get into the whole thing, and I really haven't talked online. I did, I think, tell you the story. We'll wrap up with this one, which was our little group, our Mile Caching crew, went through it, and when we were done, of course, we sat dumbfounded. We didn't know what to say. We went back to the car and we're like, it was silence, and there was a lot of wows, and it's like I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to describe what we just went through. Yeah. But one of the guys started posting pictures, and he was like, he's posted like, I was like, I told Darren, I said, Darren, you got to remove some of those photos, man. You cannot do it. There you go. Signal when you're done. K-Blast is going to go through it.
And you're right, K-Blast. Like, I love Gary so much. Gary is a talker. And when he is so excited about something or just has soaked it all in and he can't talk, man, him not talking about something like that says volumes. I'll just say that for sure.
And so I told Darren, I goes, you can't post those. I said, he goes, yeah, I need to go back. And so I like, yes, you can't post the whole thing, man. You can't. I mean, that's how excited he was. He wanted the world to see all these cool parts of it. And I was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, all right, I'm waving to you now, Brian. We're done.
Come back, Brian.
Come back, Brian. All right. Um, so I did make I did have a faux pas last week, so I need to
Just a
correct my.
single faux pas, Gary?
Yeah, I need to correct it. So
Okay.
here's okay. Hang on.
Let's get a good shot of this.
Yeah, this ought to be good.
Gary is going to fix something he said before.
Yeah, so I mentioned about the gadgets. So gadgets are no longer available. They were all purchased up. Google Academy builds are no longer available. And I think we closed a small loop in the website, so I don't think we can purchase anything more at this point. So, and all the feather coins that were done for the if you wanted to build your own coin, those have all been done as well. A lot of cool. It's amazing to see how many different. Well, there was a billion options, and
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool to see what everybody chose to make for their feathers, that their feather coins. That it's always neat. I mean, I feel good about what I picked, but I also feel good about others, and I have purchased additional coins, so I'll be doing some trading to gather up some of the other feather coins as well. So
and this is going to be cool. And if people didn't get what Gary's putting down, we're talking Friends of Cache Fest. And with Friends of Cache Fest, it was an opportunity to make some pretty sweet coins this year to be able to trade. And I'll tell you, I'm glad I got in when I did, because you know, it's going to be such a cool opportunity. I know I purchased a bunch. I've already heard from a few people who have said, can you trade with me? And they tell me their favorite types of pizza. And then if it's a good type of pizza, I say yes. And I've already had like a handful of those. So
yes, with lots of S's after it. Yes. So also want to mention that we did fill up the room block, like for the third time, I guess. So they're working on getting another block of rooms to us for the for Cache Fest Oklahoma. So stand by for that. We're trying to get that. So if you try it now, you could try it now. If it doesn't go through, then please be patient. We're going to work on fixing that. So. And I'll let you talk about. Oh, and then the challenge trails for Challenge Academy is in the show notes link. It's on the web page. It's on the web page. It's on the cache page. So if you go to, even if you're not going, you might want to take a look at it. It's kind of cool. Go to West Oklahoma. Even if you're not going to Oklahoma, check out the Challenge Academy PDF file that they created. Every year they create that. So, Dee says she's going to call him again on Tuesday. Cool. Thanks, Dee.
All right. Thank you, Dee.
Get that worked. Yeah, she's working on that. So that's awesome. So they're going to get that all straight. Maybe try to get a few extra rooms. So, patience on that. The Challenge Academy, very exciting. Every time they do it, it's always fun. A lot of people are working hard. I've seen photos already of people who are working on their challenge, because you want to follow, at least you want to look at the paths. And so every year there's little paths to get to the top. You can take different paths. You can do like a well-rounded cacher type thing. I mean, you've looked at it, or is there?
Oh yeah. You know, so for me, the ones I love most, and of course it's me being me, right, is I love the social media posts for the Challenge Academy with that path and everybody doing that, because that has been so cool to see all the pictures out there with some people being so creative, especially the Instagram posts. I've been loving those. And you know, on that one, you know, I think Gary said, you know, the checker's up now. So for everybody who was asking about the checker's up there.
Yeah.
So, you know, just,
That's awesome.
What an incredible fun time.
Yeah. And then last on the list was the non-traditional hide contest. You want to tell people a little bit briefly about that?
Yeah, last call. So last call. So it ends
Yep.
on May 31st. I know seeing I got K Blast threw his hat in the ring with a pretty cool cache. We have a lot of other people that submitted caches too, encouraging people to do their non-traditional hides. So last call if anybody else wants to submit it, because really cool opportunity. So if somebody submitted a cache in the past month, put in that form, we're going to close it out. The 3 winners are going to get some pretty cool prizes. We're going to have them come on the show too. So it's going to be
Yeah.
awesome.
There's a Google submission form. It's in the show notes. So check it out. Complete that. Get your non-traditional. Several people I know, John, you heard from some that have already submitted and actually they got it published already. So that's like
Oh, yeah.
ahead of the game. So that's awesome. All right, let's jump in. Oh, thanks. Appreciate you doing that, John, putting that in there. People can cut and paste that into their and get it out there. Voting.
Yeah. So how it works, Dire Wolf, is we're taking a look at the favorite points from the caches that submitted and taking in
Yeah.
the percentages as well too.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that, and then the top 3 people who kind of win from those criteria will then be on the show. We'll give them prizes as well too. And there's some pretty cool caches that people put out there. Some good mysteries, some good traditionals, bonus caches, challenge caches. So really good variety. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out on that side for sure. I can't wait though for these people to actually like talk about it, because some of these very creative, very unique caches. So it's going to be very cool.
Yeah, I'm making a quick note to someone. We're busy tonight. Okay, that's taken care of. All right. Let's get into this. Let's get into the legit D5 T5s, and you've found some great info. We're going to get into here in a little bit. So,
Yep.
I think maybe off the top of the thing, we're going to get into some specific D5 T5s, but I found your information you found was fascinating. Now the D5 T5s, you said or found, I guess, that there are almost 8,000, 7,940. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah. 7,940 all worldwide, you know?
And those are all active, right?
Yeah, correct. Active as of today. You know, it's funny because anytime you pull numbers from here, it always changes. You know, some caches get archived, you know, some new ones get published as well too. But one of those things I know for a lot of people, it's just the D5 T5 is a very cool, attractive cache. Because I mean, let's face it, like how often are you going to go for something that epic? But you know, it seems like whenever people do it, a key question that people have is, what is a legit D5 T5? You know, on that side. So as we're going through and we're talking about this today, we certainly want to hear from everybody in the chat room too. From people who contributed on social media, like I know Direwolf's in the chat. You know, we've taken a look at the one that you've shared on here as well too. But certainly, people, if you have any good GC codes for ones that you like and consider a good legit D5 T5, put those in the chat too on that side.
So this is funny. So I'm sorry. I'm in a text chain. And Brian is also in the text chain. He's like, stop it. Stop distracting Gary. He's doing a show right now. So that's why he texted in here. But,
Man, thank you, K Blast.
Yeah, K Blast is trying to – our group – we have a great group of people that are working on the night at the Noble, which is night at the museum, which is going to be epic. We'll
Yes.
So anyway, so I was people are like, well, why are we doing this? Why is it doing this? It's like it'll all make sense. It all makes sense. So, some of the stats you found, some of them make perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the attributes that you found, obviously, the top 3, well, top 4 make a, because again, these caches are supposed to be the most difficult,
Yep,
and the hardest terrain. T5,
Yeah.
which means a lot of things. It means something different to you and I versus others, but there are ways to figure out how to do this. There's a link when you go to put out a cache. If you're unsure, they give you a cheat sheet. Is that a good way to put it? How would you?
Yeah, I'd say cheat sheet are kind of like recommendations based upon criteria, because there's no, at least in my eyes, I don't know, people can argue on this one, but I mean, is there actually a quantifiable way to say what a D5 T5 is?
Right. I kind of always have been I wouldn't say a stickler, but I've always been a person who has kind of gone by what it showed. So if you go in like you're gonna create a cache, and you go to continue, I'm not gonna create one. I'm gonna go in here, and you're gonna do, let's just say traditional for the moment. Pick a spot.
This isn't going to be the show, Gary, where you publish a D5 T5.
Public, yeah, out in the middle of nowhere. So just pick I picked pick one I've done before because it was in the. So continue anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a long way from home, and then you get to a point where it asks you about your difficulty in terrain. So there's a point then where it gives you a little. Here we go. I'm getting there. There's a lot of stuff to do to put a cache out. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you get to the difficulty in terrain, and which is funny going through all this and not. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it a name. Keep going.
Call it Gary's Epic BT non-liars cache.
We recommend this system to rate a cache. That's what I wanted to get to, which is always should have gotten that before. So, all right. In fact, I'll put it in the show notes. So I found it. I'm sure, but you could have found it through you could have gone to the guidelines and found it probably too. So, yeah. D5, the most extreme mental challenge, requires specialized knowledge, skills, tools, or significant effort to find, solve, or open. That's on the D side. On the T side, it says requires specialized equipment such as scuba gear, a boat, rock climbing gear, or similar. There's not a lot there, John. They didn't go into a lot of detail, did they? That's it.
No, it and I don't know about you, but I mean, really on that one, Terrain 5, they acknowledge though how Terrain 5 varies, because if you look at it, they say terrain ratings vary by community, from one to the next. A 3-star terrain in Banff, Canada is different experience than the 3-star terrain in Amsterdam, Holland. So please rate your cache accurately based upon standards in your area and guidance.
Yeah, that's the part that's always tough because how do you do this equitably? It's tough. It's tough to do because a T5 where I'm at is different than a T5 in Antarctica. It's just going to be. But so it's I mean, I don't know. I guess that's all. That's all we have, right? It's all we can do.
Yeah, I'll tell you. For me, digging in on this though, I kind of looked at the attributes, and I wanted to see, because for attributes kind of define, if it's something special, what do people need on there? Because I mean, is a special tool like a flashlight? Are they talking like scuba gear? Are they talking like snowshoes? Like what are they talking about?
Yeah.
You know, on that one. And it's interesting because I mean, looking at the almost 8,000 ones for 5.5s, there was over 2,000 climbing gear required attribute,
That's
so it's
quite a
like
bit.
1 in 4, so basically, I mean, like 1 in 4 almost, it's climbing gear required.
Yeah, that part is insane. The ones that so we'll go down the list, and then you stop me when I appreciate you getting all these put together. But yeah, so the ones with the most attributes: scenic view, which we mentioned, climbing
Yeah.
gear is next, parking nearby. I think that's kind of surprising that parking is that high. Didn't you think? I mean, for a T5, I mean, to have parking available,
I
I
agree,
guess.
because I mean, you would think normally, I mean, it would be like, okay, not that far away, but parking nearby. But there's some other questionable ones when we get lower related to this that you wouldn't think either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's, yeah. We
You
have
know?
stay tuned. We're going to get to some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Parking seems okay. So no big deal. A tree climb. So surprisingly, tree climb is in the 2000s. We have over 2,000 tree climbs.
Yeah. Shantram
Makes
says this tree
sense.
climb's a legit T5. I agree. It's not to say all tree climbs are
His tree
legit
climb is.
T5s, but his is. Yeah.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Shandram has a tree climb. You don't have a ladder tall enough. You don't have probably 8 ladders that you could tie together in some crazy format that would be long enough.
Not at all.
So no, you need serious climbing gear, and yeah, so that is a legit T5. Now, to me, I think that if I need a ladder,
Yeah.
I consider that a T5. I know Jesse doesn't. Jesse would say, "Well, a ladder's not listed, or a ladder's not that big of a deal."
But let's talk about it, because if it's like a collapsible ladder you have in your car,
Which I
is that
have.
really is that really a T5? Because I mean, there's different kinds of climbs out
Specialized
there. You know,
specialized equipment.
but if you're going like 10 to 20 feet up there, just 10 to 20 feet, like somebody posted on
Just
Instagram. Yeah, but they posted and they said, T4, and they were probably like 10 feet up in a tree. So I mean, it's cool you get credit for a T4, but is that really a T4 if you're just going 10 feet up in a tree, even if you have a ladder?
I think it is, but that's
I don't
just
think
me.
so.
Look, T4. A T4 on the thing says very strenuous movement that may include significant distance, overgrowth, swimming, or elevation changes. I mean, you're making an elevation change.
10 feet elevation change, Gary? That,
Well,
that that takes you up to a T5, you're saying?
no, T4.
Okay. Yeah, I
T4.
could see that. Maybe.
Well, when you're here in town, I'm going to take you up 10 feet in the air and drop you. You tell me what you think is
Okay.
tell me if that's a significant elevation change. Did you feel it? 10 feet off the ground and you fall? To me, that's an elevation change, baby.
Oh man, don't try
It
breaking
ain't
me
going to
again,
feel
Gary.
good when you hit the ground. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, don't try breaking me. Yeah, I agree. K-Blast says ladder is special equipment. Ladder is, there's different types of ladders.
I think so. I mean, but Drusilla's right. I mean, climb a mountain and then rappel down a dangling ammo can. Yeah, to me, that's 5. It's 5 for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and Brian's bringing up a good point. Was the ladder necessary or was it just helpful? So, Direwolf, every rung of the ladder increases the T by 0.5.
Oh man, especially when it's a toddler's ladder, huh? Huh, there, Dire Wolf, having a toddler's ladder in your car.
Yeah. It's always tricky. I mean, we'll talk about them more. So let me get into some more things. So special tool required is listed only on 1,600 of them, which I think is interesting. I mean, that's listed as the definition of a T5, and yet only 1,600 of the almost 8,000 listed that a special tool is required. And there may be a clue there as to what's to come. 1,400 of them, 1,464 have boat required. So again, it's like a ladder. Could you swim it? Is the boat helpful in air quotes versus because some people say, well, you didn't need a boat. You could have swam out there and back. The boat was helpful, but wasn't required. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I interpret this one though, because I mean, it can be a boat, it could be a kayak, it could be a kayak cache, even,
Sure.
or like a canoe cache. So to me, I mean, this makes sense because it seems like definitely touching that higher level of terrain, that boat required is helpful.
The thing too that I think factors in to T5s, and I don't think it's supposed to, but I don't mind that it does. And that is many times a kayak power trail is multiple caches, obviously the definition of a power trail.
Yep.
So by that thinking, you're thinking about the terrain based on the power trail and not on that one geocache. So, for example, I would probably not do one and give up. I would probably do a power trail because there's more down the river. Why am I stopping? But can I get to that one geocache without a kayak? And may have to do, I may get wet, trying to shimmy myself down, to a river and then reach, because it's supposed to be where you can, a lot of people do them because they reach out and can
yeah, you can just grab them from your kayak for sure. Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? They're thinking about the whole power trail. So they're going to go, oh, T5 because there's 30 of these things. So it's a lengthy, when in reality.
Yeah, but I mean, there could be the other end of that. Somebody could say, you know what, though, if there's like a trail like that, they're not 5s. They're like a 4.5 or like a 4, because there's a whole bunch of them rather than like having to go out there. Let's suppose you're kayaking for, I don't know, 5 miles, 10 miles to get one,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, looking at it the other end of the spectrum, people could say if you're only going out there for one, and you're doing 5 to 10 miles, I mean, that terrain 5, instead of like going out there and selectively putting them out there,
Right. Because you're looking at the other, because I think in totality, and this is something that I think that HQ probably should have done, which was to remind people of the terrain prior. So it's sort of to me, it sort of should be a build on. So for example, T1 physical effort needed to arrive at coordinates and sign the, so the terrain for that, a 1 is less than half a mile, wheelchair accessible. We'll get to that in a minute. Most likely paved and flat. So then it ramps up. So you get to less than half a mile, most likely flat, but not wheelchair accessible. Then it goes to less than 2 miles. Then it gets to a terrain 3, which is hike maybe more than 2 miles on varied terrain, too difficult to ride a bike due to elevation changes or significant overgrowth, and it builds and builds and builds. Very strenuous movement, may include significant distances, overgrowth, swimming, elevation changes, extremely demanding movement over potentially hazardous terrain is 4.5. It just keeps building. So
Yeah.
I think that there's something there when you're trying to create a T5 that you need to look at the
Well,
totality of
and you
terrains,
just
right?
brought up wheelchairs. I want to talk about this one because in the chat
Go
room
for
right
it.
now, ask the chat room. So, are there any T5 caches, 5.5 caches out there that have wheelchair accessible on them? What does the chat room think?
Surely there
In the
can't. Surely there are none, but I won't
in
call
the
you Shirley tonight.
Well, I appreciate it. You can call me Frank, but Shirley
How
just
many
doesn't really.
how many D5 T5s are wheelchair accessible in the world that are these are all active, right? You didn't go into the archive.
Correct. Yeah, these are all active. Yeah, what does the chat room think? How
All right.
many wheelchair accessible 5.5 caches are there out there in the world?
Yep. All right. We'll let people guess. While we're doing that, Lost Ken mentions, he says, I understand the comparisons, but after the second hip replacement, sorry, buddy, I
Oh,
go for a
man.
terrain of 2.5 to personally needing a tool pretty fast. So, yeah. All right. We're starting to get some guesses. Keep your guesses coming. We'll get to that one here in a minute. A couple other ones make perfect sense. I mean, dangerous. The 1426 dangerous area, 1318 number for dangerous animals. 1279 may require wading, not wading like wading through
Mhm.
through water. The next one was kind of interesting. I want to ask you about, which was teamwork. So there are 1,168 have teamwork cache attribute. Do you think that they're inflating the terrain number because of the difficulty factor?
Y-
Do you see what I'm
I think,
saying?
yeah, and I think sometimes, I mean, that does happen. I mean, let's face it, 5.5 is a very sexy, DT rating. So, I mean, I think for
Sure.
some people, if they can do that and inflate it, I think sometimes it does happen. I think sometimes there's 5.5s that I know one that I've done that afterwards I thought, is it a 5.5? Could be, but in comparison with others,
Mm,
others have been much more of a what I would consider a true 5.5, on that front. But the whole
right.
teamwork one is interesting on that side. I wouldn't have guessed that that many instances of the teamwork cache attribute myself on 5.5s, but it makes sense because I mean, really, when a 5.5 happens, should people be doing a 5.5 on their own, as well
Right.
too,
No, that's
you know?
very, very true. People mentioned about liars caches. Chandram actually guessed. He gave us a guess of 37. Um, Others, like I said, mentioned about a library, or Drusilla mentions a library cache where 5.5 is not in reality. We'll get to those. Um, Brian mentions at some point, Groundspeak prevented people from making the wheelchair attribute available above a T1. I don't know. Is that legit?
I
I don't
think I
know.
remember hearing about that.
I,
I don't know if that's 100% true or not, though. It'd be good to
I
find out
know
from.
if you, yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I know if you try to put your cache at a 1-1, you are required to add a wheelchair accessible attribute,
Yeah.
or at least the T1 part. I don't know. The D part is not the part of that. I should say the T part, the terrain part. I was shocked at this number. I really was. I mean, Chandran was not far off.
No, he was certainly the closest out of
So
everybody.
so share that number.
Yeah, 26. So 26 caches out there that have 5.5 actually have the wheelchair attribute, believe it or not.
I don't
Can you believe
I
that if
don't,
somebody said there's a 5.5
don't
with a
get it.
wheelchair attribute? Another one on here too that kind of blew me away. How many of them have the stroller accessible
Wait, wait,
attribute?
wait. Back up a second.
Yeah.
Maybe in today's world, somebody could build a really unbelievable wheelchair. I mean, I've seen the kind that can go upstairs.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Or-
the contraptions that are wheelchair type? So maybe you could get one that like can, like a forklift, get you to the spot, push a button and lift you up in the chair up where you can get the yeah. So information. How is
yeah.
this physically possible? Hey, we're just reporting.
Yeah.
We're
We're just reporting on some interesting data we found on 5.5s,
That's
on here.
insane. Yeah. So mention the stroller one.
Yeah, stroller accessible. So if we have 26 wheelchair accessible attributes,
Right.
yeah.
26.
Yeah. How many people think how many of the 5.5 caches have stroller accessible attribute? Just put
Stroller
guesses out there in the
accessible.
chat room. And we got a few other kind of interesting ones too when it comes to 5.5s on here.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Professor Xavier wheelchairs. Yeah. I don't think his was that fancy. I mean, it was fancy, but not. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if it could lift you up in the air, but all right. We're getting some guesses in. Some people, very low guesses on the
Yeah.
stroller.
We'll tell you on here they're actually higher than you think, Direwolf and K-Blast. If you guys want to put in a second guess for how many 5.5 stroller accessible attributes are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and Lost Can is correct. I mean, there are people in wheelchairs that can kayak and boat. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we've had done shows about accessibility, so that's not. I mean, there's people in much better shape than me that are, that are using, they're in wheelchairs. So, but it's more the fact that can anybody who's in a wheelchair, it's the other part of this is that I don't know why people use that attribute.
Yeah, so I think it's time to tell people. So no one has actually guessed within
No, he's
uh
close.
yeah, nobody's close at all.
Lee's fairly close. He's at 72. Closer than
Well,
others.
closer than others. I think Thomas Foley is probably the one that's gotten the closest so far on here.
Oh, was there? Okay. Somebody jump higher. I'm sorry. I missed that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Thomas, you're
Thomas
right.
got 140. So
140.
so how many, Gary? How many stroller accessible attributes are out there for 5.5s?
191 strollers can make this trip.
Yeah. Oh
191
man.
caches.
Yeah. Buzz
Yeah.
just came in. So yeah, on that. Again, who would have thought about that for a 5.5 with a stroller accessible attribute?
Stroller. What kind of strollers are we talking about here that can get to these 5.5 caches?
That is a great question. That is a great question. But yeah, something doesn't seem legit. Maybe the next one is park and grabs. How many 5.5 park and grabs do we think we have based upon the attribute?
While you're doing that one, maybe the strollers, maybe that people think that their kids are a little tougher than maybe I think they are. I mean, I was surprised at the number that said that these are recommended for kids. Now I know, kids recommended for kids is sort of also very generic. I'm sure. K-Blast. Throw the kids in the stroller up into the tree. Yeah, that works.
K-Blast, that sounds like a great name for a cache, a 5.5 cache for you to publish in your area. Throw the kids in the stroller up into the tree.
Put on your scuba gear. Put your kid in the stroller. Come out to my geocache and fling your stroller with the kid in it up into the tree.
Yeah, Direwolf, good planning. I didn't look upon the restroom nearby attribute, but that is not a bad thing for planning purposes whatsoever on that side.
Absolutely. And
yeah,
depending on the age of the kid, it is nice to have a restroom available nearby.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm shocked. Go for the park and grabs. Tell us how many we
256.
got.
256.
256
5s have the park and grab attribute.
park and grab.
Could you believe that?
That's some park and grab
Yeah.
to be able to just walk up and, I mean, I'm sure
Ye-
Jesse would go, "Oh, okay. So I see what this is. I'm going to climb, I'm gonna walk up, climb this tree 80 feet, 100 feet in the air, grab a cache and come down. Park and grab."
Yeah. Well, maybe these are monster trucks, perhaps. I mean, maybe get in your monster truck, going up a mountain, driving over some cars and terrain, and, you just park and you grab it.
Well, and Brian's right. I mean, these are liar caches would have have a lot of these in there too. So I don't think they allow those anymore. Is that correct? Am I wrong on that?
I don't know for a fact on that one because I think I saw one that published within the past few years
Really?
recently. Yeah, and I don't know because I mean this is up to reviewers, independent
Mhm.
reviewers to go through and actually do it,
Right.
Yeah, and I mean Shandrum has a good one. He can park 10 feet from vertical madness.
That's true.
You can. Shandrum, do you actually have park and grab attribute on yours or parking nearby?
It can't be a parking. I mean, by definition, a parking grab. I mean, I know he's quick to get the thing ready because you
Yeah.
gotta he's got to put the climbing gear in place, and then the person has to basically pull themselves up, lift themselves up, and it moves them up, slowly, incrementally gets them up into the tree. Yeah, he says no.
Yeah.
um, that's a part. Yeah, as Brian says, that's a park and not a grab because and it may require. So you had some that was like takes less than an hour.
Yeah, 718. So 718.
718 say
Take
they take
less than
less
an
than an hour.
hour. Is that
Wow.
really a 5.5 if it takes less than an hour?
Oh my gosh. Many of the attributes do make sense. I mean, may require swimming, poisonous plants, which I'm going to fix. You said poisonous planets, which, yeah,
Oh,
there may
thank
be
you.
some poisonous planets out there. Significant hike, field puzzle. So, do you think that there's 617 that have a field puzzle attribute? Do you feel it's similar to the other question, which is, do you think that this really cool gadget cache has extended their reach into the terrain area when it's difficulty 5 and it may require special equipment to open it?
Well, so higher difficulty. I mean,
Is it
that
is it leaking out into the terrain side of things?
yeah, I mean, you got to question that because I mean, like bring up the kayak cache again. Is there like a kayak gadget cache where it is a legit, difficulty
Right,
5, terrain
right.
5, or is it just, inflating on that side as well too?
We got some others we need to get to tonight. We're slowly starting to run out of time, but let me ask you about one, and this will kind of answer, I think, a portion of these caches. So I'm pulling up a cache right now. I found yesterday.
Hmm.
Its attributes are, here's the attributes, and I'll tell you what the DT is here in a second.
Hmm.
Available at all times.
Okay.
Parking available.
Okay.
Challenge cache.
Okay.
And it is a difficulty 5.
Hmm.
Terrain 4.5.
Okay. With parking nearby.
Difficulty 5, terrain 4.5. I just strolled up, signed it, put it back into the lamppost. It was an LPC.
Was it a liar's cache, Gary? Was it a blatant liar's cache? Or with the challenge? Was the
It's a
challenge a legit
challenge,
challenge?
and the challenge is not an easy challenge. So, fortunately, I do qualify for it. It's called the Countdown Challenge. So, you need to visit a state or country and find 10 different types of caches. Then you need a different state or country and find 9 different types of caches.
Okay.
Continue this. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Different types of caches in 8 more states or countries. So at the end, you're having to find 55 caches
Okay.
in 10 different states or countries.
So
All of the caches you have ever found, and you have to find and use all 17 cache types.
okay. So this one's though saying it's that DT based upon that cumulative experience with the challenge cache, not the single experience for going to the
Right.
LPC.
And this was a 2013.
Yeah.
So the difficulty, I don't really have too big of a problem with the difficulty, but the terrain, 4.5. The terrain should be based on in my opinion, it should be based on where the final is. So this cache should have been maybe a difficulty, I guess 5 is okay, or difficulty 4 maybe, and the terrain should have been a 1. A wheelchair could have signed this. Wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge. So again, we find inflated numbers on some of that.
Well,
So
these are the things. People do it for what makes sense to them. Did they see a cache similar to this that they based the challenge off of that had that DT rating? And they said, yeah, there's a cache out there with a DT rating, so this is why we're doing it. You know?
Right. Yeah, that is for a different show, Darwolf. You're right. I shouldn't get into that side thing. So don't think about challenge caches. Yeah, it just is kind of different. It has changed a lot. You are correct. Darwolf mentions about the journal. Did you pull that one up? Did you look at that dude? That cache?
Yeah, thank you to Daryl for sharing this one on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got a few good responses on there, and we certainly always appreciate everybody that contributes on social media. I'll pop the GC code in the chat for the journal.
Yeah. It's kind of a puzzle cache, right? To start with,
it's a
or
mystery cache. And if you go to the cache page, it's in journal format, saying they found a portion of a journal in an old trunk and attempted to decipher it many times. And then they attach pages of the journal and attempt to finally solve the century-old mystery. So far, I'm loving this one because I think this one's pretty cool.
They have a lot of good detail as well, which I appreciate. You know, they talk about park is closed for 24 hours after a rain event. Do not attempt to solve this unless you are very prepared and physical good condition. I recommend you take the necessary supplies for a day-long adventure. This should include paper, pen, pencil, water, lunch, patience. You should also record your starting coordinates before starting your search. I do not want to see anyone stuck in the woods overnight. Please obey all no trespassing signs. Park rangers have been very clear that these have been placed for a reason to control environmental impacts in several areas. One portion of this cache is near one of these controlled areas. In order to keep this a level 5 cache, I request no spoilers be placed in log entries. So they've taken some appropriate steps.
And I like this because, I mean, it describes really the total overall experience on here,
Right.
um, with making sure that people are adequately prepared on this one for sure.
Yeah.
And it
And
does look like attribute wise, I mean, it has a
Mhm.
number of good attributes on here to properly inform people as well too.
Right. That's very good. Yeah. 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 And from the photos, you can tell this is no park and grab. This is a legit, trek. Um,
Well, and this
so
is a type of cache to me that's a cool one because, I mean, any 5.5s I've done them as a group, with a group of
yeah.
friends. And man, some of the bonding experiences you have with a group of friends doing a 5.5 is just incredible. I know
Yeah.
I was at dinner yesterday with some friends and we were talking about like a 5.5 we did a couple years ago. And oh man, just remembering that story, walking through it, that's
Oh
just an
yeah.
awesome experience.
So many of them, we're kind of bagging on the D5 T5s a little bit. Yes, for many, the D5 T5 5.5 caches are epic. I mean, they
Yeah.
are memorable. They're the caches that people talk about for a lifetime. Um, so the liars caches are ones people aren't going to talk about forever. You know,
No,
um,
like the liar's caches, I don't know about you. Those are the ones sometimes you talk about, certainly like if you're at an event on that side,
yeah.
it can be very cool to read the logs if people are really talking it up in outrageous ways that
Hmm.
is a true liar's cache. But
Right.
yeah, definitely not the same though. Epicness for sure.
So um, you've got one that you need to talk about, which I think you got. Is that the photo you used as well this week? Was the Isle of Stone?
Yeah, Island of Stone, if you want to
Island
pull
of
that
Stone.
one up. That was
Yeah.
certainly very cool, epic one on that side for sure.
Mhm.
It's a cache where sadly it's been archived on this one. I don't
Right.
know, if everybody else is like this, but man, when you have a 5.5 that gets archived, that you've
Oh,
had such magical experiences with a favorite cache of many people, that's a tough one, man, because that's one you wish more people could go out there and enjoy that as well too. Um,
I'm going to bring it up too, by the way, so you can talk more about it as I.
Yeah, and we were lucky to be some of the last ones to find this cache as well too. So
You can't even get to it. You can't even get to it. So yeah, tell the story. This is
yeah,
crazy.
so on this one, I mean, this is one where it's cool. It's actually you go out, there was a puzzle you need to figure out where ground zero was. But yeah, seriously, this is an island of stone, and you can see this is actually like shell on this one. This is one, some people it's funny like usually people come with a larger group on this one. A
Yeah.
lot of people reading through the logs, you can see ones where people have just bailed on it because like it's just been like waves shooting over the island, going
Right.
through that there's no way they want to step on it. um, Even for us it was hilarious because we went and we were convinced, we were a group, I think it was like 6 people at the time, and we actually thought that we could go through and we could do this with a rope. So we got a rope, we got people, we came to this island. And you see this picture where this ladder is at this time. Just
Yeah.
imagine the waves pounding away at this and
Right.
then actually knocking down this about maybe like 3 to 4 further feet. So like
Oh my gosh.
this doesn't look this bad in this picture, but it was a lot more challenging. So literally we threw a rope over there on one side. My friend Mark and I, we were the counterweights, and we had our friend Nick trying to climb up with us anchored over it so
Wow.
that he could climb up to the top. But this is all shell, so this actually gives away on this side too.
Right.
So as
Right.
he's doing this, the actual like waves are picking up, hitting us, knocking him on this side.
Right.
Yeah, you can see like that violent like lake with 25-mile-per-hour winds, going
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
like the massive like waves that are going on there too on that
Oh yeah,
side
because
where
look,
a
I
lot.
mean, yeah, you're right near the shore, so you're getting pummeled by the wave
Absolutely.
break. That's insane. I mean, look at that.
Yeah. So
Look at that.
so yeah, and it just sticks out. And the cool part is on this one too, this was like so epic because like you're coming up this like creek riverbed, and then you're seeing this off in the distance. So you're just seeing like this tower that then you have to go and then climb as well too on that side. So
Yeah,
you're
and it doesn't look like there's a real easy way to get to there, and it's not. I mean, it's not huge climb, but still, it's sheer,
yeah,
straight
absolutely.
straight up.
Yeah, because for us, when the rope, we couldn't do it that way.
Yeah,
We had our friend Mark call his girlfriend at the time to borrow a ladder. So then we had to
right.
drive all the way to her house, get a ladder, strap it onto the car as well too, put it out there on that side, and you can see some other people doing the ladder too on that side.
Yeah, you
But
can see where. Yeah,
yeah, but this was my favorite 5-5 cache. We eventually got it with the ladder, getting it in there, walking across the water,
oh man,
getting
that's
up there,
awesome.
climbing up on top, and it was a tiny little container on that one. But really cool puzzle. I mean, awesome location, awesome experience with people on this side for sure. We were worried we were going to have to DNF it after that rope wouldn't work, but that ladder, worked out solid on that side.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, unfortunately, we were the last group of people to ever find that before it got archived on that side,
Oh man.
which was such a bummer. A lot of people's favorite cache that they've had on that one. I know a lot of people talk about the Island of Stone and just an awesome cache hider on that one too.
Yeah, as we start to wrap up tonight, one thing I did want to mention, finishing the Texas challenge is a lot of effort. It is a D5 T5. The terrain part, I mean, is subject to. It's been around for a long time, but
Yeah.
you there were times when the caches I found for the 254 counties was a T5. I needed, something, a ladder or, you know, elevation change, whatever. The interesting part is it's supposed to follow again challenges. So I want to mention one that is interesting, and that is Charles. Charles has a Colorado challenge
Hmm.
cache that you got to sign all you got to sign. You need to find a cache in every county in Colorado. Then to find his challenge cache, you don't get to. Um, can you do the challenge with that? No, you could not. So there you go. You need a car. That's specialized equipment. I guess there you go. But to get to Charles's, it truly is a T5 to get to the final logbook.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a legit 5-5.
Legit Colorado 5-5 too. So you're not
Yes.
talking like 5-5 somewhere else where it's a flap, a legit Colorado 5-5.
Yeah, and so there's some count there's some. I mean, you could. I mean, there's some. We talked about before is that some states you don't think about. Texas, you kind of don't think of mountains, but in the west part, the Rocky Mountains do extend down into Texas. So there's some significant climbing that you can do in the west part. Or I'm currently in the Austin area. I'm doing a bunch of 2001 Jasmer caches that I missed. Poor planning on my part. So here I am. I'm back in this part of these neck of the woods. And today there was some. I mean, there's some that I won't. Terrains that I just can't really do anymore. At least till I get in a little better shape. And I'm a little older. My knees can't handle some of those. Not that those shouldn't still be out there, but as we start to wrap up, we get to some of the final questions I think you had in there, which was, do we still want to have 5.5s in the world? The obvious answer is yes, but
Yep.
do we want them to be legit?
Yeah. And I think that's a key part because I think there's so many different types of caching experiences. 5.5s are an epic way to do that.
Yeah.
Especially, you look at the way Charles did it. With that cumulative challenge and where you have to go to hide that. That is incredible. That is truly incredible.
Yes. And Direwolf's like, well, of course we do. Can't do a fizzy without them. Well, yeah,
Sure.
but in today's world, and we talked a little bit about the show as we start to wrap up. This is something we talked about before we started the show, which was I'm finding these 2001s. These suckers are hard. These suckers are taking me all day to get. So I'm wondering if we live in a world now where we don't really have as many legitimate 5.5s.
And that's a great point because a lot of these legitimate 5.5s, they can be dangerous. Let's be honest. There can be danger in those. Some of those that you're walking by cliffs, you're going through water where it could be like quick moving water on that side. Things could go wrong. So you're right. It's just that's a great question. Are people not inclined to put out legit 5.5s,
right,
nowadays too?
And some really good comments in the chat room. Thank you so much, chat room, for being there tonight.
Absolutely.
I like Direwolf wants to do a reverse liar where it's like, oh yeah, it's just a 1.5, and it turns out it's actually like a 5.5. People are gonna be pissed. You didn't tell me that I needed a rope. I needed climbing gear to get to this thing. It's like,
yeah, Direwolf, make sure you do that where it's all those things required and it's a night cache on that side.
Yeah,
and people just have to follow that next reflector for 15 miles.
15 miles.
And then bring their climbing gear and then find it, it'd be pretty epic, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I like Jen's comment. Not every cache is for every cacher, but every cacher deserves to find the caches that keep them wanting more. So, we've talked about before that I cache completely different than the way, and you and I are probably more similar, I think, but Jesse caches a certain way.
Yes.
And I cache a completely different way.
Yep.
What he wants to do is what he wants to do, which is great. That's the beauty of geocaching, is that we can all enjoy it in different ways. And there's times when our paths will cross. There's times when we're going to want to do, similar caching, which is great. And there's times when I want to do different things. So we all go through this varying. It's just that 5.5s are, I want them to be legitimate.
Yes.
For the most part, I think. I just don't. Like, we didn't really talk about tonight because we're running out of time, but the one that one of my 5.5s that I found which was a tribute to a young boy who had cancer, and they wanted to make a tribute cache. Just walk him and sign it, but it was a 5.5. And we talked about prior to the shows, like, I think there's plenty of caches who go, you shouldn't have signed that. That's not a legitimate 5.5. That's not, you shouldn't have signed that cache. That's wrong. And it's like, well, it's not, technically it's not my responsibility to set the DT for somebody else's cache.
True.
Should I have not signed it and claim a 5.5? I don't know. I mean, am I obligated now, John, to actually go find a legit 5.5? I've signed a couple 5.5s. I signed the Texas Challenge in that one.
Geocaching is a game, though. I mean, we all play it, and I appreciate Jen's comment coming back to that one, because I mean, we all play it the way we want to play it.
Yeah.
And there's no way to quantify 100% accurate, what all these ratings are, And yeah, I hear from K-Blast, because I mean, if you're there and it's your part of the experience, why not sign it? It just depends how the game is to you on that front.
Yeah.
Am I going to go find a 2.2 and say this should have been a 1.5, 1.5? I'm not going to sign it, or a 1,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many people would sign that? But how many people, even at geocaching events, you talk about different ratings, and people said, you should have rated that a 2.5, difficulty on that one instead of a 3 or a 4. And I think when it comes to puzzles, I mean, that's very hard to do too. But to me, especially when it comes to 5.5s, is there's just some terrains that are out there, require specialty tools, that it's just head and shoulders above others.
Sure.
And it should be pretty clear that it is a 5.5 on that one.
Right.
And I agree with Lost Ken on that one. It's so hard to find the caches that agree with what a 5.5 is. And I agree. I hear you. I think there's guidelines out there, but it's important to do that when you can, for people.
Yeah, they may, in the caching world, it's become mythical. It's become, and there's plenty of legit 5.5s that are magical, that have these, that are these incredible caches, these cache experiences that are legitimate, 5.5s that are just, and so much to talk about. We don't have time, but like, you would think, maybe not, or many people would think that the Antarctica webcam, there are no webcams, by the way, that are 5.5.
Nope.
Correct?
Yeah,
anymore.
Correct. None.
That are active. Even the one in Antarctica is not a 5.5. Even though it takes specialized equipment to get there, right?
Yeah, it's terrain 5, so
what is terrain 5? Okay.
Yeah, terrain 5, difficulty 3.5.
Okay, that's what messes. Okay,
Yeah,
so it is. So the terrain's
3.5,
correct.
5.0.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that part's correct. Okay, you'd think you would make it, just since it's this. I mean, a magical experience. Obviously, almost nobody's found it, and a couple of them that found it are not legit. But that's for another show. But there's so many of those, and I think that I like the lore around the 5.5s, and I hope that when people are thinking about putting out a 5.5 cache, that they make it, they sort of keep that lore, that magic in place. And if it's not, make it a T4.5, or make the difficulty a 4.5. I mean, there's a lot of those that are missing. I mean, one of the things that people have, that people struggle with when they're trying to finish their fizzy, is to find those bizarre, 5.5s are out there, but there's so many that are, how many, we didn't go into tonight. We can talk about it. We make it for another show, but how many 4.5s are there in the world? I mean, it's just one of those things like, if you get to that point, you want to make it the magical 5.5 when in reality, it might not really fit.
Yeah, but I think, and I hear you, Gary, because I think you're right. I mean, for people, when you're going for filling your DT grid, sometimes those 4.5 and 4.5 unusual combos can be magical for people trying to do that to fill in.
4.5 ones, 1 4.5.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'd like to comment on Brad's comment here. Brad said he did a 1-to-1 wheelchair accessible cache today that was at least a 1.5 across an even ground and about a 5 to get up in a tree covered in prickly vines. Those are actually more of the ones that concern me.
That's insane.
On that one, because I mean, for somebody who is in a wheelchair, needs an accessible cache, it can be pretty exciting, for somebody who is either they need to be in a wheelchair permanently or maybe have a temporary disability to grab a cache. So I mean, when those are rated accurately, that is very cool, and that's a very cool experience. But if you're doing that, that is not a cool experience. I would hate for somebody in a wheelchair to go to a cache like that they thought was a 1-1, that was probably a special experience and could get them into geocaching maybe, and not have that because it's inaccurate.
Yeah. Well put. I guess that we get to the final thoughts. I mean, I think this was a good discussion, and I love, again, hearing the stories. And again, I hope that even if I can't do them, I like to hear the stories of legitimate magical 5.5. So please, if you're a cacher that can place a 5.5 legitimately, don't hesitate to do that if you can, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah. And I agree. I think 5.5s are an awesome part of the game that creates some epic experiences. And especially if your area does not have a 5.5, think about how you can add to the area as well, too, because 5.5s can be pretty uncommon to get to, but they can be a really cool experience for people, for sure. And there's a lot of different ways to do them,
Yeah.
And certainly on that one, I know we wish we could have gotten into a lot more details on some of the 5.5 caches that people provide in the chat room, because there's so many cool ones that I think once people do it, I mean, it's an experience you don't forget, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, KC11, Nicole, and we mentioned about Charles's the new Colorado County Challenge. So thank you for those. They are in the chat room. Go check them out when you get a chance. The chat room will be out in the chat room. It'll be up in the show notes soon. So definitely check those out. And thanks, John, for sticking. We missed our buddy on who does a lot of 5.5s, but he's when you're sick, you just don't want to.
I hope, man, he gets some good pizza, he feels better, and gets back on the caching trail soon.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
May your finds be many, and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.